Mental health is a call for concern because it has a massive influence not only on the individual suffering from mental disorder but also those close to this individual.
When you realize that your parents are going through anxiety or depression, most of the time wakati unajaribu kuongelesha mzazi, this happens normally. Unaweza pata unajaribu kuongelesha mzazi but he or she is raising a voice over you. Wewe hujui what is going through. Alafu when you realize that your parents are going through, unajua unakuwa afraid kuongea na wao because if you try or if I try kuongelesha mama wangu and then she's going through something, ataenda kunitusi, ataenda kushika kitu anirushe. So to a young teen, a growing child or daughter, son, affect even him or her psychologically. Juu pia yeye atakuwa anaanza kuwa afraid kuambia mama I need this. So anashindwa kutafuta solution ya kusolve hiyo situation yenye mzazi wake ama the parents are going through. So it's always important the parents how can I say, if they're going through those situations, they should not show them off to their children when you wanna grow, because pia wao itaanza ku affect psychologically. If they're going to school, inaanza ku affect academically, because the kid will be afraid, atakuwa anajiuliza what's going on with my parents.
A parent who is undergoing this mental issues can greatly affect the children and the surrounding in which they exist in. You find that as a child, children actually mirror whatever it is that their parents do. So a child who grows in a house where, let's say, a father beating a mother is the norm, he or she does not know whether this is wrong or bad, because growing up, a child is subjected to social learning. They acquire their information from their own surrounding. It's like when you're an abusive parent, a child will grow up to have the tendencies to also be abusive, not just physically but also verbally. So you find that if a father or a mother is undergoing stress or anxiety, he or she will, because they do not know how to handle this situation, will take it out on their children. Maybe they will beat the children, maybe they will attack insecurities of the children. You find that, I think it's common with most people our generation, when a parent used to tell you wewe mbona usifanye kama, wewe mbona usifanye, that comparison, it makes a child feel inferior. Attacking insecurities of a child, calling a child mbwa, mjinga, all those obscene words. It kills the self-confidence of a child. You find that these days, a child grows up and is an introvert. I don't know, they are antisocial or something, but it doesn't mean that it's them. It's just they have been conditioned to be a certain type of way. You find that a person who's an introvert, when you look back into their past, you find that maybe the parent was either abusive, both physically or verbally, or the parent, attacked their self-esteem. When, for girls, when you, as a child, a girl is plump because they still have their baby fat. So when you tell a child that, oh, nona hapo hivyo unanona nini, this child will grow up and start developing issues like anorexia. You eat but you just vomit it so you can maintain a particular figure, and this is affecting so many people. So
mental health is a very invasive condition, because we are created as social beings, and when we are living in a setting like the African setting, we tend to be more, our social self tends to rule more than the individual self. In the Western world, the individual self tends to be more protected and promoted, but in Africa we tend to promote the social self. So we are us, if you know about the Ubuntu philosophy. I am because we are. So basically, when an individual in a home particularly gets to suffer from mental health problems, then it creates a lot of stigma for that social unit. It creates stigma at that individual level, and then people tend to move away because it's a mysterious thing. People don't understand how to relate with a person who is suffering from mental health disorders. And then even the primary caregivers, particularly the parents, may not be able to know how to connect with a child particularly who is suffering from mental health. So the most important thing here is to note that it will disconnect the individual from the rest. It will stigmatize. And the most important thing to do is to seek for professional help, because professionals are trained to know about how to reconnect this individual with themselves and reconnect this individual with the other social systems or the significant others. So that person will need, everybody in the home will need what we call family intervention, because in most cases the cause also goes with the treatment. Much of these mental health issues is propagated by social systems that are not healthy, or individuals who are in authority over a child who are not healthy, and therefore they will also need intervention to be done through them so that they can be able to protect the gains that have been made on that particular individual.
I think in the African context, up to date, even when I watch like videos online on TikTok, Instagram, and I see how small kids like go in the Western world like responding, my heart beats fast because I try to imagine if I said that exact word, and probably it's not bad to my parent, to my African Kenyan mother especially, and I get goosebumps because I'm like, the audacity, things like those ones. But I think we, even as ourselves as children, I think we need to know how to communicate. I think that sets the tone for everything. First, angalia mood yenye yako nayo tafadhali. Parents, when wakiwa wamechoka ama hawana pesa, they really don't have the time of consoling small emotions. Honestly, I can attest to that. Like, anaonanga nikaa sasa ukianza kumletea emotions nikaa unamletea another whole package he or she doesn't need. So I think you should also check the mood, like when yako. Then usikuje na with an aggressive way, because parents hate looking as though you are aggressive towards them or you are attacking them. Their parent mode activates very fast. So I think at a point, even though you're coming and you're angry and you want to say something, don't come to them with like, mom nataka kuongelesha, like, hey. You won't know what hit you, but something will hit you definitely. At that moment, I do not know what, but something will hit you, trust you me. But I think it's how, like, hapo tu, like, you guys have eaten, ameshiba, nini, she's maybe sipping her small warm water, some tea, and then, you can just start it. No, usiende too straight to bed. Okay, you can try and beat around the bush kidogo tu. Si sana, juu ata notice. Kidogo tu. Na mama nikuulize. Start with things that make her, mood feel a bit better.
When a parent's mental health is unstable, there is the suffering of the family, first of all, because these are the parents. The parents are the sole breadwinners of the family. Okay, we have children growing up in a setting where the parents are the ones that are providing shelter, food, and all the basic needs that they need. Now, when the parent or both of them are mentally unstable or have mental health issues, first of all, they will react violently, as I said earlier, to issues. Okay, even the smallest mistakes that can be solved through discussion and trying to find a solution, they will react in a violent way, and there will always be violence within the family. Now, what that does is that the child grows up knowing only that it's only violence that solves issues. They grow up knowing that even on the smallest issues that can be solved through discussion, or even sitting down and having a little talk or trying to find another solution, they will grow up knowing and thinking that in everything you have to be violent for you to solve an issue. And that one impacts on their life ahead, on their future, because they'll be violent people in the society, not only affecting their families when they grow up, but even affecting the larger society.
Many parents raise their children based on how they themselves were raised, but the world is changing, and so are ways of doing things which parents and other aspiring parents must adopt.
For me, if I will raise a child, I really do not want them to experience whatever it is that I experienced as a child, because I was raised in a military kind of setup. Being a firstborn male in an African household has a lot. You have to be there when things are not okay. You have to be there for everyone. There is no, whether it's your mom, whether it's your sisters, whether it's your other aunties and uncles, you have to be there. You see, and that sets a lot of pressure. By the age of like 10, I was like almost a grown-up because I was handling some very serious issues. So by the time like you're 16, you're in your 50s at this point, because you're thinking about retirement. You've already started planning for the future, which is nice, but you need to experience life as a child. It's amazing to be a child. From how I was raised, there was no that emotional bed that I could talk to my parents, express myself as I wanted to, be as free as I could with them, be a friend to your parents rather than being just another child in the house. You are just a statistic. But for me, I would want to raise a child in a setting where me and them could be free. They can be able to tell me when something is wrong. They can be able to tell me their successes as well as their failures without fear of judgment, without fear of being put down. However small that success is, I want this child to feel as appreciated as possible, as well as instill discipline, not by ruthlessly caning this child as happened to us, but rather teaching these children basic principles of life. Because as an adolescent, there are many emotions that are, coming in from every angle. You have anxiety. Things are happening to your body. You don't understand. You're confused. You really need some direction. And for most, it's sad to say that this direction was not offered. That's why we have wild things happening in the world today. See, but in a setting where there is freedom, but there is controlled freedom. I don't know if you understand when I say controlled freedom, where you are able to express yourself, but not to a point where you disrespect someone. You see, that was why I was saying a child should have those basic principles. You teach a child from a young age that being abusive is wrong, being physical is wrong. Standing up for whatever you believe in is okay, but do not infringe also the rights of another person. You see, just those basic things, and well, I'd like my child also to be me.
Comparing the way I was raised and the way I would want to raise my kids in future. So me, I was raised under a very tough background. My parents were very strict, and my elder siblings were too strict to me also. During holidays, mi nilikuwa overprotected. My parents are overprotective. My parents were overprotective. My elder siblings were also overprotective. Sikuwa napata hiyo opportunity ya kwenda kutafuta friends. We hang out, we have fun, because if I could get out nirudi saa moja ingekuwa ni kesi. So it was, of course, yes, we could get time with my parents. We sit and talk, especially with my mom. And it's this way, this is how you should protect yourself. Maybe when you grow up, utakuwa una face ama una go through a number of challenges zenye us ladies go through. So in future, if Mungu akinijalia niko na watoto, I will just give them the freedom that they want. I will be open to them and tell them this is how life goes, this is what they need to do. I mean, nitakuwa nawafunza what is right, what is wrong. Ndio at least when they grow up watakuwa najua my mama told me this, my mama said this is wrong, my mama said this is right. Ndio wasikuwa na like wasifind it hard for them to make right decisions when they grow up or when they become adults. So I would give them a very accommodative environment between them and I. They are going free, such that when they're going through anything or when they're going through mental issues, they'll be open to me. We sit down, we talk, and we find a way to solve the issues.
I would say genuinely, I would say like my mom's and our parents' parenting style wasn't bad to give us character development. So I mean, it's not so bad, but I think what I would want is my kid to never, and I mean never, be afraid to tell me anything. Like I would never want to ever feel like my child haezi nikujia for anything. As in, that is the one thing I think I fear the most when it comes to imagining myself as a parent. Is imagining like your kid can't come and tell you like, I'm going through this thing. They had to get it on their own. They had to go through it on their own. Like I think that would be the worst thing I would feel imeniumiza sana the most. Because now that is what we are lacking for our parents' parenting.
I think we are raising our children in a very funny way, which if not taken care of, we will come to regret later. I believe so. I believe.
It has to get better. Not just assume your child is still the 5-year-old boy or girl you knew. It takes attention. Be your child's best friend, because in the end, we are all we have. To win this mental battle, it takes more than one person.